Hey there, Chiefs Kingdom. Harrison Graham here with another episode of the Chiefs Report. Hope everybody's going to have a good weekend here. On today's show, top 25 free agent targets for the Kansas City Chiefs. 25 players that I think could be worth targeting this off season, including some internal options for KC. So let's go ahead and jump on in here. We'll go by some position groups here. Wide receiver, 5 guys here. Let's start with their own guy here, right? JuJu Smith-Schuster. JuJu Smith-Schuster signed a 1-year, $10 million deal up to $13 million with incentives last year, and I thought he'd be good, but we didn't really know what to expect. If you told me these were the numbers he put up, I would have said that was a very successful season. Coming off an injury-riddled season in Pittsburgh, he had 78 grabs, over 900 yards, 3 touchdowns. I thought he showed toughness by playing through injury in the playoffs, especially in that Super Bowl. I would like to bring JuJu back. I wonder if he could get more on the open market since it is a thinner wide receiver free agent group. It'll be very interesting to see what happens to JuJu because I think he's a good player, and I think him and Patrick Mahomes clicked pretty quickly. So we'll see if he chases top dollar, which I wouldn't blame him, or if maybe he comes back on a similar type of deal, maybe around $15 million per year. Let's go to Michael Thomas, who technically hasn't been cut yet, but he will. If he's not, the Saints owe him like $50+ million, so that's not going to happen. Michael Thomas obviously has had a kind of a tale of 2 careers now. His first 4 years, including that 2019 season on your screen, he was unbelievable. Last 3 years, that has not been the case. He's played in 10 total games, didn't play at all in 2021. I still think when he's healthy, he's a very good player. I think he could be a number 1 receiver still, but 3 years of only playing 10 games, that's a long time without being on the football field consistently. So I'm intrigued in an incentive-based deal. Like I've said this before, like say JuJu signs elsewhere, gets a big-time deal. Do what you did with JuJu last year, right? Make him have Michael Thomas sign a 1-year prove-it deal, and if he plays well, he'll go get paid elsewhere. If not, well, no harm, no foul. You didn't pay that much for him. You've got other receivers at your disposal. The same could be true for Odell Beckham Jr., who did not play at all this past season, but showed a couple of years ago, once he got traded to the Rams, he can still be an impactful force for a Super Bowl contending team. I don't think the Rams get or win the Super Bowl without him. Obviously, tore his ACL in that game, didn't play at all this past season, but he'll certainly look to sign with a contending team this offseason. So here's to see what his market is, just like I am Michael Thomas's. So I'll let you guys decide. Who would you rather sign at the wide receiver position? Type MT for Michael Thomas, OBJ for Odell Beckham Jr. Pin comment on today's show, so if you get hit with the YouTube ad break, reply right there, MT for Thomas, OBJ for Odell Beckham. Go back to another Chiefs free agent here. That is Mecole Hardman, as he underwent groin surgery earlier this week. Obviously, missed second half of the season dealing with that injury. Tried to come back for the AFC title game. Got nicked up again, but obviously admire him trying to play through that. I don't think he returns. I've said that because you have Sky Moore, you have Kadarius Toney, guys who have similar skill set. Doesn't mean I wouldn't bring him back if he wants to. I just think he can make more money elsewhere, and you're not going to overpay for Mecole Hardman when you have other receivers that give you similar type of skill set. So we'll see what happens there. I would give it 20% chance he returns. How about Allen Lazard? An interesting name I wanted to include here. Really good blocking receiver, like one of the best in the NFL. You signed Marquez Valdes-Scantling last offseason. He gave you some production. He could, I'm sure offer his 2 cents on what Lazard can bring to the table. Has improved as a pass catcher and a route runner as well. Aaron Rodgers called him his number 1 receiver at one point last season. So, could you get him on like the JuJu deal last year, 1 or 2 years at around $10 million per? That could be a possibility. Go to the offensive line now. It is Orlando Brown, of course, who we'll start with as, I think there's a very good chance he returns. I think there's a great chance he's placed under the franchise tag for a second straight year. Chiefs have until March 7th to do so. Depending on when you're watching this, it's possible they already have tagged him. But if they do tag him, then they will have until July 15th to work out a long-term extension, which, if the price is right, I think would be a good thing for both sides. How about Jawaan Taylor as a potential right tackle option? Now, I think it's probably a long shot because someone's going to pay Jawaan Taylor decent money, and I don't think the Chiefs are going to throw 12, 15 million at a right tackle, but, maybe the market dries out a bit and you get a decent deal on him, or if by some weird scenario you don't get Orlando Brown back, maybe you throw some money at Jawaan Taylor at right tackle. How about Andrew Wylie? Look, I'd love to bring him back. What he did this year, wasn't expected to start, ends up starting the whole season, played for $2.5 million. You know he's going to look to make more than that. I mean, he could triple his salary this year, really. I mean, he could get $7.5, $8 million. And will the Chiefs pay that? I don't know. I mean, you still have Lucas Niang, a young, promising player that showed a lot of promise a couple of seasons ago before he suffered a big injury. We'll see. I like Wylie. He's been a warrior for this team. He's played, I think, every position on this line except for center in his 4 or 5 years with the team. Curious to see what his market is, because if I'm him, I'm looking to cash out, and I wouldn't blame him if he did. Here's an under-the-radar name to keep an eye on. Jermaine Eluemunor for the Las Vegas Raiders. Really played well this year at right tackle. I think that right tackle spot is a spot to watch for Kansas City if Wylie does move on. If they're not confident or comfortable with Lucas Niang's kind of, I guess, progress as he's been making his way back from injury, then Eluemunor could be a good option. Isaiah Wynn, I'll throw him in there. You know, he's been very inconsistent with New England. I don't know what he'll make on the open market, but could be kind of an exploratory option depending on how things play out. We'll go to running backs and tight ends here as we'll kind of group a few players here together. Jerick McKinnon. I've made it pretty clear. My running back plan this offseason is pretty simple as we look at McKinnon's stats. Re-sign Jerick McKinnon, who's a really good receiving back. He's really good in pass protection, and he runs the ball well between and outside the tackles. He knows this system. Him and Mahomes have a good relationship, good chemistry. Bring him back. You've got Pacheco. That's your 1-2 punch. You know, if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back as your third back, that's fine. Or if you cut him and go draft a cheap option as your number 3 back, that's cool too. But I want McKinnon back for a cheap deal, and I think he would be very open to doing that. How about Kareem Hunt? Oh, Kareem Hunt. I don't think this is realistic at all. This isn't happening, right? I don't think so. I'm not going to poke the bear here. I don't think Kareem Hunt's coming back. I know some of Chiefs Kingdom would like to see this, but a couple of things that are reality. One, when you cut a player over a controversial act that player made, whether it's what he did, a domestic situation on camera, or some kind of drug situation, other arrest, there's usually no going back, right? Like, you're not going to change course a few years later. I never say never. Andy Reid's a big believer in second chances, but the fact that they cut him a few years ago, I don't see this playing out this way. And again, just re-sign Jerick McKinnon for cheap. You don't need Kareem Hunt, and he wasn't that good this year anyway. Much better last year. Would you bring him back? I'll ask the Kingdom. Type Y for yes. Type in for no. Would you bring back Kareem Hunt? I think that ship has sailed. But if you guys disagree, let me know. Go to Mike Gesicki now, who's a tight end, but he's really a slot receiver. Say you lose JuJu. Maybe you go get Gesicki to be a big slot guy for you. I think that could be interesting. So I'll be curious to see where he goes. He's not going to re-sign in Miami. That's for sure. Dalton Schultz, good chance he leaves Dallas as well. Latest reports that they are unlikely to franchise tag him. Really good safety valve type of guy, and he could play that role here as a number 2 tight end to Kelsey. And then Irv Smith, just kind of a cheap, higher-end type of guy. Like, the potential's been there. He's been hurt a lot, though. Obviously, Minnesota traded for who am I blanking on? Which tight end? TJ Hawkinson. Thank you, producer Rolly. So Irv Smith is definitely expendable there. Maybe buy low on a talented, cheap young player. I think that could be a possibility. Okay, let's go to the edge spot now. I think edge rusher is a big one to watch. We don't know what's going to happen with Frank Clark this offseason. How about Yannick Ngakoue? I don't think the Chiefs are going to throw big money out there this offseason, but maybe 1 or 2 decent-sized contracts. And Ngakoue, depending on what happens with Clark, could be that guy. Maybe he's someone you throw 2 years and $32 million at. He's just the epitome of consistency. He's played 7 years in the NFL, and he has 8 sacks or more in every single season. Like, you know what you were getting in Ngakoue. He's a 4-3 edge rusher. Cut Frank Clark to save $21 million and throw like 16 of it at Ngakoue, 18. I mean, I love Frank Clark. He's been a proven playoff performer, but Ngakoue is a more consistent player. Like, he just is. So I think that's something I would heavily consider. He's a guy that's bounced around a little bit, has never really played on a high-level contender either. I think he'd be intrigued by playing in Kansas City. I don't know. I like this idea. What do you guys think? Who would you rather have coming off the edge of Steve Spagnuolo's defense? Type YN for Yannick Ngakoue. Type FC for Frank Clark. I might go Ngakoue here. Get your votes in, Chiefs Kingdom. Arden Key's an under-the-radar name to monitor. Now, you guys might remember him with the Raiders when he was kind of a bust, but in 2021, played with the 49ers, played pretty well. Signed with the Jags in 2022, also played really well. He's been good the past 2 years as like a heavy rotation guy, and I think he could serve a similar role here as well. It's the annual Jadeveon Clowney discussion. Look, I'll say what I do every offseason. One-year deal without too much money. He's a great run stopper. He's an occasional good pass rusher. He's never going to live up to being the #1 pick, but he's had some really good seasons. Wasn't very good this year, so maybe it's a cheaper price tag. Carlos Dunlap, who I liked this year for the Chiefs. I would absolutely bring him back on a one-year deal. I don't think it would cost much. I think you'd probably get him at $6 million or less. He had 4 sacks in, that should say 2022. All good, though. That's my typo. 4 sacks for an aging pass rusher as a rotation guy. I think he can give you 4 to 5 sacks next year. Come be that third edge rusher for you. I'm in. I would absolutely do that if I was Kansas City. He was solid. I liked what he brought to the table. Now, this is a wild card for a couple reasons. One, he could get a lot of money, and I would not pay a lot of money to Marcus Davenport. And 2, he stunk this year. I mean, he was great in 2021 with 9 sacks, and this year he had, I think, just 1 or half a sack. He was not good. I don't know what happened there, but maybe he's looking to sign a cheap deal to reset his career. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. All right, 5 more guys here. Let's start with Bobby Wagner, who the Rams and Wagner have agreed to part ways. Now, he's not going to be able to sign it until free agency starts. I think the Rams are waiting until the start of the league year to actually officially cut him, but he will not be back there, which means he will be a free agent. You got Willie Gay and Nick Bolton, but, you know, he had 140 tackles this year. Does he want to be a vet guy on a defense? Maybe. I don't know. I think he could have a bigger role elsewhere, but I'm certainly not closed off to the idea of Bobby Wagner. Leighton Vander Esch is a player that I really like. He was great as a rookie in Dallas 5 or 6 years ago. Battled some injuries, but then this past year he signed for cheap and played really well again. He's good in coverage. You know, he could be that #3 backer next to Willie Gay and Nick Bolton. I think Dallas probably re-signs him, but if not, I would certainly be interested. Go to the defensive backfield now. Juan Thornhill, Chiefs safety, who's played out his rookie contract, kind of like Mecole Hardman. He's a guy that the Chiefs have to make a decision on. And look, between those two guys, Thornhill and Hardman, I'd rather bring Thornhill back because I think you're good at receiver, especially with that type of player, like I mentioned with Tony and Sky Moore. But Juan Thornhill had a really good year this year, took on a leadership role with some young corners in that secondary. I'd like to see him back. Obviously, the price has got to be right. The Chiefs aren't going to be able to overpay on a guy like him, but I think he's still a really, really good player. Couple more here. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the Philadelphia DB, plays some safety, plays some nickel. He can do it all. He can step up into the box and be a good run stopper. Now, there is a report out there that the Eagles want to re-sign him, and if they can't come to terms with the long-term deal, then he could get franchise tags. So keep that for what it's worth. But, you know, if discussions stall or things change, maybe he's a name to monitor. A more realistic option is Logan Ryan, who Tampa picked up this past year, and he's a vet. He's played nickel safety in this league. You know, if you lose a guy like Juan Thornhill, maybe bringing in a guy like Logan Ryan makes some sense. He can be your second or third safety. He can, you know, play some nickel for you as well. So I would certainly be open to that idea as well. All right, there you go. 25 free agents to monitor as we are, about 3 weeks away from NFL free agency. It's going to be here before we know it. So let me know, Kingdom. Name a free agent that you think the Chiefs should go out and sign. I went through 25. If you have some other names that you want to monitor, let me know down in the comments. You can also tweet them at me at HGramNFL if you have any thoughts as well. All right, that's it for today's show. Hit that subscribe button here on the Kansas City Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. I'm Harrison Graham. More videos to come here in the coming days.